From the 1011 Now streaming studio in Lincoln, Nebraska, this is the REPORT Husker Show.
Hello and welcome everyone. Bill Rentschler alongside Sports Director Kevin Sjuts in the 1011 Now streaming studio. Kevin, another busy weekend of Husker athletics, high school state volleyball action. A ton to talk about today. Want to start off, though, again, talking about Michigan State. Looking back, again, I don't know how much of a chance you got to actually watch the game, but what were your takeaways from a disappointing performance in East Lansing?
Well, this will be interesting for me, Bill, because I don't have as good of a grasp on this game, admittedly, as I would most Nebraska game days, but have had a chance to hear from Matt Rule on Monday, and I guess kind of I digest what I know of the game on Saturday. Obviously, I was a little bit preoccupied with the high school state volleyball championships at the Devaney Center on Saturday. Mm-hmm. But, man, what a disappointing game. The Huskers were favored on the road against a Michigan State team that had lost 7 in a row. Learning after the fact, though, it didn't sound like Nebraska had the best week of practice leading into the game. Obviously, I think some injuries are starting to catch up with the Huskers. And as Matt Rule pointed out, winning is different in November than September and October. Mm-hmm. He knows it's very difficult to win in November. There's more tape on you, and so you might see some different things from opponents. Injuries start to mount up, and plus there's a piece of pressure on there. And this is the first time Nebraska had been on the cusp of bowl eligibility in playing a football game since 2016.
And
it's been a while. And you're asking some guys to try to get that done that are freshmen, redshirt freshmen, and sophomores.
And Rule today in his press conference, again, there are sometimes he can get pretty animated. Towards the very end, when talking about learning how to win with pressure, he got pretty animated. He was pretty fired up about, hey, they got to learn how to do it.
Got to stare at your demons in the mirror. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Matt Rule was fantastic again on Monday. This is no news flash that Matt Rule was really good in front of the cameras and reporters. But he peeled back the curtain a little bit on, what are some of the things that are plaguing Nebraska, what the issues were against Michigan State, what the outlook is for the remaining 3 games, knowing that 3 games are left, 1 win is needed. If the Huskers get 1, they are bowl eligible. This is the one to get, though. If you're a fan looking at this remaining stretch for Nebraska, Maryland, Wisconsin, and Iowa. Iowa currently leads the Big Ten West. Wisconsin has been near the top of the division all season. Maryland comes to Lincoln on a 4-game losing streak. The Terrapins, like Nebraska, are 5-4. They also are playing for bowl eligibility. They've just been stuck on the number 5 for a little bit longer than Nebraska.
Yeah, started off the season hot, 5-0, and then now they've lost 4 straight. Ohio State, Illinois, Penn State, and one other one in there. I'm not entirely sure. Purdue, maybe. I'm not sure. But 4 straight losses for Maryland. And again, they're coming in with Tagovailoa. I'm not even Talia Tagovailoa.
Talia Tagovailoa.
Which
it's Tua's brother.
Yes.
And Matt Rule said in his assessment of Talia that he can do everything his brother can do, and even put Talia in the same breath as Kyler Murray and Patrick Mahomes. And he said, as a whole, Maryland is athletic of a team as anybody that they have faced. They have a very good offense. Mm-hmm. They played a more difficult schedule than Nebraska, and that's part of the reason for the 4-game losing streak right now for the Terrapins. But that's an enticing matchup for folks that are going to watch this game on Saturday, whether on Peacock or whether inside Memorial Stadium. This defense, which didn't play its best against Michigan State, now has to really show some improvement, hopefully regain the swagger that they had earlier in the year, because they're facing an outfit with a dual-threat quarterback and Talia Tagovailoa, and then they have a lot of athletic pieces in skill positions. So can they match up? Can they hang with them? And it sounds like Nebraska's secondary isn't the healthiest right now. Malcolm Hartzog sounds like he's going to be he's questionable right now. He's still in concussion protocol. Mm-hmm. So they need all the bodies that they can put on the field for this matchup for Nebraska's second-to-last home game.
And, again, turnovers continue to be an issue. Again, Nebraska is dead last in the country with 22 giveaways, 12 fumbles, 10 interceptions. They're ranked 128th in turnover margin. It's minus 12. So, again, you have a defense that's 16th in total defense, 3rd in rushing defense, but the offense just continues to give the ball away, which again impacted this last game against Michigan State. 3 giveaways, no takeaways by the defense. If you want to get that one more win to go bowling, you're going to have a positive turnover margin in probably one of these 3 games to have a decent chance.
Yeah, that's how you lose a game on the road by 3 points. You have a -3 turnover margin. You know, sometimes you can tolerate the turnovers a little bit more. I guess you never really tolerate the turnovers, especially any coach would tell you that. But if you can take the ball away, if you can offset your turnovers with takeaways, then it can sometimes be a wash.
You could stomach it.
You can stomach it a little bit better. But this defense, as good as it has played, especially in stopping the run, they're just not creating a ton of turnovers. And that's been the case going all the way back to Nebraska's season opener against Minnesota. It's a good defense, don't get me wrong. But the one missing element of this defense is, we haven't seen too many. I mean, Tommy Hill's had a few he's got 3 interceptions on the year, but they've kind of come in a quick bunch, spread out the course over the 9 games Nebraska's played. They've had some moments where they're just not taking the ball away, and that's knocking the ball out and creating a fumble and getting on top of it, or getting an interception, or even having special teams somehow come up with a way to get the football.
Yeah, something, somewhere in there. So I think, again, I think you could argue that Maryland is probably either the most athletic or the second most athletic team the Huskers will play this year. It's kind of between them and Colorado. Michigan is obviously the best team they'll played all year, but they're just kind of they're going to beat you up, between the offensive and defensive line. So Maryland,
they're a football team.
Yes, and they're obviously talented, but I think skill positions, skill players, just quickness, twitchiness, I think Maryland's right up there with Colorado.
I would agree with that. But they can be contained. I watched Maryland play Illinois during Nebraska's bye week, and Illinois beat them on the road. And, that's an Illinois outfit that when Nebraska played them on a Friday night in Champaign, wasn't that impressive. So there are ways to scheme and slow down this Maryland attack. Matt Rule and this staff, they're just more concerned about themselves and getting right and staying confident. And, my big takeaway on Monday, just hearing from Matt Rule, it was that he said we're learning how to win. We're starting to learn how to win. But that process kind of resets itself now because we have to learn how to win in November. And tell me the last time, we don't have to look it up, but just thinking aloud, when was the last time Nebraska had a really good November? I would go back to the first year of Scott Frost, but they dug themselves in the hole by losing the first 6 games of the season.
Yeah. And, you go back to 2016, which is the last time this team went bowling. That was the year they started 6-0, 7-0, but then faltered down the stretch, I think losing 4, maybe 5 of their last games.
Novembers have been tough on this program. And not to go too microscopic, but look at the Iowa series. Nebraska won it a year ago, but they've had some struggles against the Hawkeyes in recent memory, and part of that is lumped in not just Iowa. Who else is Nebraska typically playing in November? Wisconsin.
Yeah.
So there are some divisional opponents that have really given Nebraska trouble late in the year, and now let's see. And that's part of the identity that Matt Rule wants with this program. Be able to, win in the elements. It's going to be cold. It's going to be windy. It might be raining. We're going to run the football. We're going to stop the run. Can they really do that when the stakes crank up? Because right now we're getting close to winning time where, there's going to be a lot on the line. It's different playing in mid-September, knowing that obviously you want to win and you want to just keep building and stacking days and stacking wins. But right now, that what is left of the season hinges on how these next few games go.
Yeah, you're running out of days. You're running out of games to stack on top of each other.
And you're running out of health too. But with that being said, Emmett Johnson, if you want to shine the light on the Michigan State game, Emmett Johnson ran the ball pretty hard.
Yep.
And, I think that everybody's confidence in the redshirt freshman running back is growing week by week. At first, it was a little bit of, it's essentially a fourth-string running back who's now starting.
Yeah.
But now you're learning Nebraska's number 4 is a pretty stinking good option.
Yeah.
He's hanging on to the football, but the rest of his offensive counterparts need to do the same.
And credit to Anthony Grant. I thought he ran the ball pretty well on Saturday as well, and he did not. cough up the football either. So, again, that's obviously been the big bugaboo with him so far this year. So, it will be another interesting matchup. Again, 11 a.m. Maryland on Peacock, which I looked it up earlier. I think for a monthly subscription on Peacock, it's $5.99 a month. So, if you wanted to sign up, I think you're paying about $6, and then you can turn around and cancel it. There is a Big Ten fan.
Does it prorate it, though?
Potentially.
You know, like if you buy a month subscription and you only use it for one day,
is it only $1?
Does it amount to like you just only spent 98 cents?
That would be nice.
I doubt that's the case.
No.
But there's going to be a lot of people doing exactly what you're doing right now.
Mm-hmm.
You're on the Google machine,
yep,
and you're looking up Peacock. You're trying to figure out, how do I get it? How much does it cost? What are the ins and outs of this thing?
Mm-hmm.
And some Nebraskans still resist technology, and this is forcing them into the future.
It really is. So they have a Big Ten offer. It's $40 for a year, and you can get to this page that I'm looking at if you go to the Huskers, Huskers.com, and look up the TV information for the Maryland game. But Maryland is a 1.5-point favorite coming into this game. Over-unders at 44.5. Again, obviously Maryland a little bit more of a high-scoring offense, so over-unders a little bit higher. But they are the favorite coming into this game.
Maryland's 1.5?
1.5.
It opened at 2.5.
Did it? Okay.
So it's come down in favor of Nebraska just a smidge. We'll see what happens at practice. What are your takeaways from the Michigan State game? Obviously, Matt Rule spent a portion of his time with the media on Monday talking about the officiating. Mm-hmm. He says he knows that refs have a tough job, and they have to try to make a call on a play in real time. Mm-hmm. The thing that I think sticks in the craw of Matt Rule a little bit more, and he kind of shed some light on this, is when you go to replay, you pretty much get it right once you go to replay.
You think you should.
And you have to pay attention with Matt. He'll say some things, but you got to have your ears open and your eyes tied to it. Saying the fact that 5-4, they'll own it. They know that is what the record is. There are more variables to it. But he then sneaks in. They had a touchdown taken away from them in one game, and they had a touchdown given to another team in a different one. So code for that is Minnesota, right before halftime, it looked like Gabe Ervin had crossed the goal line. No touchdown is called. Huskers do not score in that situation. They threw a pick right before halftime. And then Michigan State gets awarded the touchdown with about 3-4 minutes to go. Mm-hmm. It puts the Spartans up by 10 points, 20-10. Mm-hmm. Matt Rule felt like Nebraska probably should have gotten the ball back one last time. And plus, the Huskers scored late on the Emmett Johnson touchdown run. So it's the what ifs, and so he's not using that as an excuse, but he is saying like these are just some of the realities of what we've dealt with. He's done it carefully too. A lot of coaches when they start talking about officiating, a couple of things happens. One, some coaches won't even touch it because they know they're going to get in trouble.
Yep.
Two, when they go there, they go all in.
And they'll just right up to the line.
They will just say exactly how they feel, and that's how sometimes the university then has to issue a 3-sentence press release trying to, calm the waters and walk back a little bit on what Coach said while emotional behind a microphone. But Matt Rule is like right in the middle, and he it's like a PR masterclass because he will say what he feels without shaming anybody and yet also taking ownership all at the same time. Mm-hmm. It is unbelievable. It's almost like a business that maybe had a mishap that put some negative light on them. How you have to say like, we are proud of our people and we believe in what we believe, but we're also going to own up. We said we did this wrong, and this is a little bit of our plan for the future. Like that's just PR in a nutshell.
Well, and he even stops himself sometimes, and he'll say, "Oh, I shouldn't say that," or today he said, "Oh, I got a really good analogy, but I shouldn't say it." So it does give an interesting take on some of these issues. Because I said, Chase and I, again, we talked after the game on Saturday. I said, we can say it because we're not going to get fined. But I thought the officiating was just, it was not good.
It wasn't.
Missed calls, some pretty big missed calls.
The face, like missing the face mask.
When the head official, the guy in the white cap was right there. And there was no other player around that you could have been looking at. So
the face
some
mask
of those
on
things,
Heinrich Harburg, that was shades of Eric Crouch getting his neck twisted completely around.
It was.
So yes, there was I think in general, correct me if I'm wrong, fans that watched the Nebraska-Michigan State game, they would all agree the officiating was not good.
Yes.
But the officiating did not cost Nebraska the game.
No, because you could just tell offense, defense, special teams. I said it, and I said to Chase on Saturday, I don't think anyone played terrible, but no one really played very good either. Like, it was just kind of a meh. Defense was good, not great. It stopped the run, but allowed some big plays. Special teams was pretty lackluster, which was disappointing. Brian Buschini had some not-so-great punts. And then the offense, there was spurts where they ran the ball, and then there were spurts where they couldn't do much of anything. So, and they put themselves, like Rule said today, they put themselves in that position. You can say all you want about the officiating and the replay, but they themselves put themselves in that position.
Really unfortunate because you think if Nebraska would have gone to East Lansing and won the game, think about what we're discussing here.
We're
think
talking
about
bowls. We're
well,
talking.
then you're really looking at those projections. And, the Big Ten West. Look what happened this past week in the West. Wisconsin loses. Iowa beats Northwestern.
Minnesota
loses. It's just a complete mess. So Nebraska would have been in a two-way tie with Iowa, and that's a team that still remains on the schedule. So you can win your way to Indianapolis.
Yeah.
So that one result, it has a pretty big impact.
Mm-hmm.
And plus, with a young team, you just hope that it doesn't shake the confidence. And I got the sense that Nebraska on Saturday against the Spartans did not look like the most confident team on the field.
A little jittery, yep. Again, learning to win under pressure. So I still think, if they win out, I still think there's a decent chance, not a plurality, but you could be talking about being up there in the Big Ten West. Minnesota still has Ohio State on the schedule.
They win out. They win the Big Ten West.
Yeah. So
you think they're going to win out?
I don't think they're going to win out. I'm saying that's still on the table because of what happened on Saturday with the rest of the games that were played.
And because the other teams in contention remain
on the schedule.
Wisconsin and Iowa.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where this is the you got to get it game.
Mm-hmm.
This is a massive game. You could argue at this point in the season, heading into mid-November, this Nebraska-Maryland may be the most important game that Nebraska will play this year.
Yeah.
If the Huskers cannot beat the Terrapins, they will then have 2 games left to try to get bowl eligible. And they will be against Wisconsin on the road.
At night.
Or Iowa, Black Friday, at home. And Iowa's likely going to be playing for a trip to Indianapolis.
Yeah. So, that's a lot to unpack. So, get it done now, and then you're done worrying about it. Anything past 6 wins, again, I think we've said this before, is gravy, really, in year 1 of Matt Rule.
Yeah, the dual-threat quarterback element of Maryland's game should be pretty concerning. I think that's going to really keep up Matt Rule at night and Tony White, Evan Cooper. Who are the dual-threat quarterbacks Nebraska has even played this year? Shedeur Sanders.
Yeah, but he didn't even really run the ball that much.
He really didn't. And then you could argue that J.J. McCarthy, though, with Michigan, they just kind of kept him in the pocket, and he was able to shred Nebraska's defense on third downs, and they handed the ball off a lot.
Yeah.
So this is going to be interesting because we don't really have a huge study guide on how Nebraska's defense matches up against a dual-threat quarterback.
No, there's not a lot of tape on Tony White's 3.35 with a quarterback like this. So 11 a.m. Saturday, again, we'll obviously have coverage throughout the week, and report 6 and 10, and then obviously on Saturday as well. Moving over to volleyball, 2-0 last week, a reverse sweep against Penn State. That was absolutely incredible to watch. They got outplayed in those first 2 sets. And, you're thinking at that point, is it bad for the team to lose a game? They don't have to be undefeated. But then they just reverse swept them and kept the train going against Rutgers, swept them on Sunday.
Set 1 was 25-15 Penn State against the Nittany Lions. I've talked to a number of people who admit that they turned it off.
Yeah.
Guess they haven't been fully invested in Nebraska volleyball over the past 5 to 10 years because they can do this.
Yeah.
And this year's team, they're that good.
Yeah.
That they can flip it.
Yeah.
And, I think part of the reason for some people walking away from that match is because Nebraska, those weren't deuce games. Nebraska did not play well, didn't look like themselves. And Rec Hall was rocking.
It was loud.
Like the pom-poms and even the camera was shaking a
couldn't
little
see
bit.
the court.
And sometimes the fans that were in front of the net cam, the fans would put their arms in the air and you couldn't see the court, so they had to go to the end zone camera. Mm-hmm. I know some folks were kind of complaining about that in the moment, like, get off the camera, we want to see the play from the side view. Well, they couldn't because people were standing and there were arms in the way. So that's a BTN decision in the moment, and I don't fault them for making it.
Yeah.
What would you rather see?
Hands or
back of arms and heads, or the actual play, even from a different vantage point? So all that to say, Nebraska was able to squeak that one out. That just ranks up there with this storybook season for Nebraska volleyball. Of course, they still have 3 weeks left in the regular season, but if you stop and be reflective of, like, what has defined this Nebraska volleyball season, obviously the outdoor match is number one. Snapping the losing streak to Wisconsin, that's 2, and unless you want to make them co-number ones, because they were both really awesome moments. And then this is the next biggest moment within the course of the Nebraska volleyball season. They had their backs against the wall. Merritt Beeson played the best match of her career.
27 kills, hit 426.
And when we're recording this podcast, I don't believe that they have issued the Big Ten Volleyball Weekly Awards. She has to be the Big Ten Volleyball Player of the Week. If not,
the National Player of the Week.
I will throw a fit.
Yeah.
And I think she has the case to be National Player of the Week, though she has already earned that award once. I think she is having Big Ten Player of the Year caliber, Big Ten Player of the Year caliber season, and potentially National Player of the Year. And that shouldn't shock anybody. That should, if somebody's watching or listening, it goes, whoa, Kevin, calm down. Let's not get too, like, she plays for the number one team in college volleyball. They are 23-0. There's a good chance the National Player of the Year goes to the team that is having the most success.
But I think she just does it so unassumingly.
She does.
Again, 27 kills against Penn State, hitting 426. That's obviously her career high, season high in kills. It's usually just like every night. It's like, Merritt Beeson's got, 16, 17, 18, 19
She
kills.
hit 426 against Penn State.
And then she followed that up with 21 kills and hit 475 against Rutgers.
And those 21 kills on Sunday at Rutgers, did you know, ties the Nebraska record for most kills in a 3-set match in the rally scoring era, and it puts her in the same company as Kelsey Robinson.
Wow. I did not know that. That is impressive.
So there are a lot of stats and statistical nuggets that really support Merritt Beeson for being one of the best players in college volleyball this year. The Huskers are lucky to have her. This obviously is her first year on campus, and now everybody is understanding. If you didn't know it already, when she was named a captain before having ever played at Nebraska, so much of the assumption there was because of her character, the motherly figure. She has some college experience, very well liked in Nebraska's locker room. Well, we're seeing the other side of it now. When the game's on the line, she's a killer.
Yeah.
Like, she can take over a match, and she can be very effective on the pins. And back-to-back 20-kill matches, that's pretty impressive. That's good stuff. And let's see if she can keep it rolling. Because as she plays, Nebraska plays. I'm not saying she can't have a bad night because they have enough other weapons that they can overcome a slow night from Merritt Beeson. But when she's on,
she's doing this.
The team looks very good.
And Lindsey Krause's continued to be out with injury. So, again, she's just been elevating her play as another one of, Nebraska's leaders has been on the bench. So it's been super impressive. Again, the latest ABCA poll just dropped a few minutes ago, and finally, Nebraska receives all 64 first-place votes.
That's the first time this year.
First time this year. So a consensus, unanimous number 1 for Nebraska. Wisconsin's still number 2. Stanford's at number 4. Louisville, Danny Busboom Kelly's at number 5.
You know what was very bizarre about the random one first-place vote that was not going to Nebraska? It was a different voter over the past 2 weeks.
Oh.
After Nebraska beat Wisconsin, there was one first-place vote which went to Wisconsin. Initially, that came from the head coach at Texas Tech.
Yeah.
Then the following week, there was still one first-place vote that went to Wisconsin. You assume that coach from Texas Tech probably kept his ballot the same at the top? No. Tennessee Tech ended up, their coach voted for Wisconsin with the first-place vote. But, hey, they've got them all now.
They do.
No national championships are being awarded on November 6th.
No.
But right now, if you're a Nebraska volleyball fan, you might want to start looking into airfare to Tampa, Florida in December.
So a little bit more manageable. Again, no easy nights in the Big Ten. A little bit more manageable slate of games this week. Wednesday, and they're both at home. Northwestern on Wednesday at 7 p.m. That match will be on Nebraska Public Media. And then Sunday, they host Illinois, 2 p.m., also on Nebraska Public Media. Again, Northwestern's 11-13 on the year. Illinois 13-11 on the year. So.
Can I just say I love the Sunday matches?
Yeah, Sunday matches are great.
I know John Cook really does not like them. It kind of wipes out the entire weekend, and it screws up with the week-to-week schedule and the days off that the girls have. But myself personally, we are season ticket holders for the program. Sundays I generally have off of work.
Yeah.
I've been able to go to matches with my wife, with my daughter, and be able to see those games from a different viewpoint as opposed to having a shirt and tie on or running a camera. So it's fun to be able to take those games in because, man, the Devaney Center, I'm a Coliseum loyalist.
Purist, yes.
I purist. I absolutely love the Coliseum. But the Devaney Center is a pretty special place to be at for a college volleyball match.
I still love that John Cook has his Coliseum polos that he still wears on the bench. Because how long have they been out of the Coliseum now? It's been...
If I had to guess, 2013, maybe last year.
So, say 10 years? And he's still rocking the Coliseum polos.
That's a good point, because he does wear the N with the Coliseum like in the background around the N. That's fairly common
every
for
time
a John Cook
it.
game day attire.
Yeah.
There's probably some folks who might be new fans of Nebraska volleyball that don't quite understand, the significance of that logo.
Mm-hmm. Maybe a question for you tomorrow if we talk to John Cook about his wardrobe.
I'll file that one away. I do know his daughter comes in pretty clutch with some of the wardrobe choices for John Cook.
Really quickly, basketball. Women are playing. Well, the game might be over right now, but they opened their season against Northwestern State. Pretty sure they won.
The game was over at halftime.
Yeah, it was 46-12 or something like that at halftime. We'll obviously have highlights of that tonight. The men open up their season against Lindenwood at 7 p.m. That's on BTN Plus. I know Fred has kind of been having the same issue that Matt Rule has had on offense, and that he's had players injured, players sick, players out. So I guess we'll see what we get tonight on the court.
That's my big curiosity with Fred Hoiberg's season opener this year. Who's playing?
Yeah.
Because they have had such a multitude of different lineups that they've shown, going all the way back to their international trip in the summer, to their exhibition game against Doane, to what we know about their close scrimmages against Utah. They've yet to really play at 100%. So when they take the court against Lindenwood this evening at Pinnacle Bank Arena, is Josiah Alec going to play? Is Keisei Tominaga going to play? Jawan Gary, he's not going to play for disciplinary reasons. Rink Mast, is he going to play? There are just so many guys that are dealing with an injury or a situation one way or the other, and what does that combination look like? And I even asked Fred last week about how not having everybody available and healthy, how much that has stunted his and his staff's evaluation of this team and trying to come up with combinations. Fred, having experience coaching in the NBA, he talks so much about combinations. Who plays well with who, and what does the front court look like if we do this? What does the back court look like if we do that? I'm pretty sure it's difficult for them to truly have a handle on that going into a season compared to previous years when you kind of knew how it all looked and how it all worked.
It's poor Fred and that staff. Again, strep throat running through the team last week. Rink Mast getting assaulted by a stranger on a moped or a scooter in downtown Lincoln. Good Lord. He's been having a tough go of it. So that will be interesting, again, to watch all that. Again, tip-off tonight at 7, BTN+. One of the big pieces of news that came from the weekend, I'll ask you about this, Kevin. Britt Prince 5-star guard from Elkhorn North, commits to Amy Williams in the women's team. I admit I know very little about women's basketball recruiting. This caught me off guard. I didn't know that she was a 5-star player, that big of a player, that highly rated, just up the road in Omaha.
Started recruiting her when she was in 8th grade.
Whew.
This generational talent.
Yeah.
Britt Prince is legit. She took recruiting trips to Louisville. You know, she was pursued by some women's basketball blue bloods, Kentucky, Duke. She could have gone anywhere. And I was surprised when she picked Nebraska. There are several reasons why she wants to play at Nebraska, from what I understand. One of those being the relationship she has with Amy Williams and Kennedy Williams, Amy's daughter, because they have played together.
All right.
And they are the same age. So there's a factor there. But, you know, Britt Prince, she is a program changer. And it would not be – I know Caitlin Clark is like the shining example of women's basketball success in the modern day right now, like current times right now. I'm not saying that Britt Prince is going to be Caitlin Clark, but you could dream. I think it's safe for Nebraska fans to dream that Britt Prince becomes Nebraska's version of Caitlin Clark. When was the last time Nebraska women's basketball that had a bona fide superstar?
Oh, gosh.
Jess Shepard.
Yes.
But Jess also left.
Yeah, transferred to Notre Dame.
But she was a Jordan Hooper. But when we say generational talent, we always have to be pretty careful. Like, is it just a good player, or is it a program changer? Is it somebody that can help the program get to a Sweet 16? And is it somebody that's going to just be everywhere, billboards, commercials, and just be the face of the program? And I think Britt Prince, as good as she is, and I've seen her play many times, being from Nebraska and being also like a McDonald's All-American, essentially the women's basketball equivalent of a McDonald's All-American. I think she's rated in the top 30 nationally, I know.
28th.
There is superstar potential for Britt Prince.
Well,
I think that this is the biggest recruiting win for Amy Williams this year. It was not getting Jazz Shelley to come back for another year. Getting Britt Prince to commit to Nebraska, that's probably the biggest recruiting victory for Amy Williams as Nebraska's head coach.
All right. Well, that will be exciting to watch that. Again, obviously won't be playing this year, but next year she'll be on the court.
Oh, but you can start watching Elkhorn North, because that team, and they ran some teams off the court last year, and she's a huge reason why. It's just a relentless defender, excellent ball handler, and she has some really good range. She can do it all.
Cool. All right. Well, that's super exciting for Amy Williams and her program. Again, all good things for the Husker women's basketball team, again, with that, and their opening win today. Last thing, Kevin, before we let everyone go, high school state volleyball. What were your takeaways? I mean, it looked like, again, some really good volleyball like we said it was going to be.
It was excellent volleyball, yeah. There were some insanely exciting matches. Even look at Saturday, championship day. The Class A championship did not start until about 9 o'clock at night. That's about 2 hours behind schedule.
Yep.
It's because some of the matches earlier in the day had gone 5 sets. So the volleyball was really good. This state is just chock full of very talented young ladies who play the sport and love the sport. Lincoln Southwest, the Silverhawks become the first capital city team to win the Class A championship since 1998. And we did a profile story on Malaya Long, their talented setter. She's a senior going to Marquette next year. She gets to go out on top, and she has a lot of classmates who played really big roles. That senior group who really just took that program to the next level. So a great day for the capital city on Saturday as Lincoln Southwest wins a state championship. Lincoln Lutheran wins a state championship. Norris was also in the finals. And, you know, I feel like we need to start just creating a let's not call Norris the runner-up. They're playing Scott. And Omaha Scott has now won 9 in a row. So there is a monster in Class B. And this was as good of a team to try to take them down, in my opinion, going into it, that I can remember, because this Norris team is so good, and we've got a number of college-bound prospects on that team, and Scott ends ends their season. They win it in straight sets.
Well, and you thought they were a 3 seed, so like, is this the year that finally maybe they get, Well,
they didn't play many Nebraska teams during the regular season.
That's true.
That's why they got a 3 seed. Not because they were the third best team in the state. It's because they didn't have the points based on the schedule that they played.
They did. They did play a lot of outside of the state teams. That is true. But if you just look at it on paper, you think, oh, they're the 3 seed. But good volleyball all the way around.
So great matches. Great day for the capital city. Norris, tip of the cap to the Titans on a great season. And then the Fort Kearney Conference really showed out. They had 3 teams playing in the finals. And they played some pretty good volleyball out there in central Nebraska in classes D1 and D2. It
was great. And we'll do it all again next year. It'll be good. Anything else before we let everyone go today, Kevin?
That's all I got.
All right. Well, appreciate everyone for tuning in, for watching again. As always, keep it tuned to 1011, both on air and online, for all the latest news, weather, and sports. Till next time, folks, we'll see you later.
You've been listening to the REPORT Husker Show from 1011. Watch, listen, and stream on the 1011 Now app, on YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. For more Husker coverage throughout the week, watch the REPORT on 1011 Sports at 6 and 10 p.m. and download the 1011 Now app.